Hey everyone, in this video, we're going to go over the reduce function in Python. The reduce function is just a higher order function, which means it acts on or returns another function. And what it will do is it will apply a function to all elements in a list and return the final value. So it can be used to compute a value. In the previous video, we used map, where we just iterate over it. But this one's a little different because we're actually going to compute and return that value at the end. And so the way we can do this is we import functools, which is how we import higher order functions in Python. I create a values list that will apply the reduce function to, and I create an add function. So the first example we're going to do is we're going to take this add function, and we're going to apply it to each element in this list. And what that will do is it will give us the sum of all elements in this list at the very end, which in this case should be 25. If you add these up manually, it should be 25. So the way we'll do this is we'll go ahead and we will first we'll print out the results. We'll print, and then we'll do functools.reduce. That's how we use our reduce function in Python. And now inside of here, we need to do two things. First, pass in a function. In this case, it'll be our add function. Don't call it, but just pass in the name. And then we're going to go ahead and pass in the list of values you want to apply this function to. In this case, it'll be values. Now, if I save that, I come back here to my terminal, I run this, you get 25. So you can see we correctly added up all the elements in the list using this one line right here. Now, this is fine and all, but creating a function separately like this just adds a little bit more. We don't really need that. We can do this all in one line using a lambda. A lambda is just an anonymous function. So let's go ahead and show how that works now, and we can compare it to that function to see how it's the same. So print functools again, .reduce, to use our reduce function. And now instead of passing the add function, I'll do lambda, a comma b, colon, a plus b, and then pass in the values again. So if we look at what this lambda is doing here, we pass in the lambda keyword to say we're creating a lambda. We have two arguments before the colon, which are these two arguments right here, a comma b. And then after the colon, we have what we're returning. In this case, we're returning a plus b here. We don't need a return keyword in a lambda here, so we can put just a plus b. If I save this and I run this, it's the same. So that's a basic example of how we can use a lambda inside of reduce, and we can do everything in one line. Let's do another example here. This time, instead of adding everything together, let's go ahead and get the smallest value in the list. And this will require a little bit more logic inside of our lambda. So what we'll do is we'll print the result again. We'll use functools.reduce to get our reduce function. Then inside the reduce function here, I'll create another lambda. And we'll do a comma b colon. We'll do a if a less than b, else b values. So what are we doing here? So we're creating another function with two arguments, a and b. We're then doing this ternary operator in Python. So we're saying if a is less than b, return a, else return b. And then we're passing our values to apply to the values of the list. So what we're doing here is we're taking 10 first, and then we're taking 1. We're comparing 1 to 10. Is 1 smaller than 10? It is. So now we return 1. We take 2, compare it to 1. Is 2 smaller than 1? It is not. So we return 1. We go all the way down to the end of the list. At the very end of the list, we'll return 1 because that's the smallest element in the list. We save that, we come back here, and we run this, we get 1. Now let's go ahead and look at one more example. In all these examples, all we passed in were two arguments to our reduce function, but we can pass in one more, called an initializer. And this is the initial value before we start our computation. So what we can do here is we can print out the functools.reduce again. And this time we'll create another lambda. We'll do the same sort of thing, just do a plus b again. So once again, we're just adding up all the values in the list. If I return this alone, I'll just go ahead and do a plus b, pass in our values. Save that. Now if I return just this and nothing else, we should get 25. We get 25. Now if I pass in initializer though of like 100, we should get 125 because now we're starting our value off with 100 and adding everything on top of that. I run this, I get 125. So this is a way just to set the initial value. Instead of always starting at 0, we can modify that by passing a third argument with that value. But that's really it for the reduce function. All the code in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.